afraid. Itchigapsalogir. Isaac Jazawabu Shushbi. Bishik Chidik Buj Shawagari. I'm a member of the Big Lodge clan, member of the Child of the Greasy Mouth, and I was born and raised on the Crow Indian Reservation in the Oshkosh district, Valley of the Chiefs, otherwise known as LG baby. Greetings, Crow people. Hilagish, I've been asked to discuss my credentials and my background, my education, my experience. I have been very blessed and granted permission to serve the Crow people and also the residents of Bighorn County in various capacities. First and foremost, I want to say this. I'm a dad, husband, and my favorite job of all time is being a dad, as well as being a partner to my wife, Sheila Wilkinson Not Afraid. My political career started in 1996 when I first ran for Lieutenant Governor for the state of Montana. I was the first Native American ever to do so. I ran for subsequent offices, and this is my 17th race since 1996. My first election that I had won was under the 1948 Constitution. I served as an executive committee member in the year 2000. Subsequently, not too long after that, in 2003, I served as the board chair for the Lodge Grass School District for 2 terms. At the same time, in 2003, I was elected for my first term as a senator for the Abzalogya Nation legislative branch. That was from 2003 to 2007. And in 2006, I had the opportunity to run for a Justice of the Peace for Bighorn County, Montana. I served 3 terms, 12 years at the bench for Bighorn County. I was the first Crow Indian elected to do so, first Native American in the state of Montana. I was certified under my term by the Montana Supreme Court to be a sitting judicial officer for Montana. And after I served my first term with the Crow legislature, my journey with the JP seat for Bighorn County began for me. And in 2011, I ran for Crow Nation legislative branch again. I was elected to a 2nd term while I was still serving as JP for Bighorn County. I've been honored to serve. In 2013, I ran for Chief Judge for the Abzalogya Nation Judicial Branch, and I served 5 years there as well. My experience is broad. I've worked for the legislative branch of government, the judicial branch of government. I served as a spokesperson for the executive branch in 2001 under the Burden Ground administration. And it's been an honor. Currently, I just got appointed to be the undersheriff for Bighorn County, and 3 weeks on the job. I'm having a blast, learning a lot. They talk about education as well. I'm certified to be a judicial officer through the University of Nevada, Las Vegas, Reno, under the National Judicial College. I received my certification in 2016. The credentials and the knowledge and the experience I have is broad. And I know that it will help me if elected as chairman. I know that it will push me forward and I'll hit the ground running. Dela, why am I running for office? I'm running for office because I believe in the Crow people. I believe in the Absalogan Nation. I believe that we can come back from the brink of closure, the brink of our finances meeting its ends. I believe that the Crow people can come together as one under the three-branch government system, under the 2001 Constitution, and that the General Tribal Council would be included in the proposals of legislation or any other amendments to the Constitution. I believe that the Crow people will empower the new officers that will be seating to tackle the challenges, everything from finance to a workforce for the Absalogan Nation, whether it's under the Tribal Employment Rights Office, to make it a priority to employ the Absalogan Nation, the Crow people. I believe that the Crow people can do better and manage better and promote a business, an atmosphere that invites outside opportunities, outside business. You have to empower your court system to be able to do that. You have to be able to hold folks accountable. To put it plainly, if someone doesn't pay their bills, you've got to have them pay their bills in the court system. It's in order to empower those that do pay their bills. I mean, I'm just putting it in the simplest terms. But you have to empower your nation in order to move forward. There's just no way we're going to attract business for the Absalogan Nation. My goals. Everybody says the buzzword accountability. Everybody uses the buzzword education and elders and children. But what are my goals if elected for the chairmanship? My goals are simple. Immediately, we have to cut our expenses. That would be the number one goal if elected. We have to cut our expenses and stop the irresponsible spending of our finances under the current and even former administrations. We can't continue to be an employment agency for the Crow people. We've heard of stories throughout every administration before now where checks have bounced and employees aren't paid. We've heard those stories. I've seen it as chief judge. There were times that we couldn't pay our staff because there were no money in the coffers. I will make sure that the money is there to pay bills and prioritize our spending. That should be the number one priority. When we go further down the list, as far as the questions that are presented by Little Bighorn College, I can further expand on how we are going to attack the handling of our finances. I think that would be the number one goal to move forward on and open our books to the Crow people so they can see how our money is being spent. Go ahead.
How will you address the state of finances of the Crow tribe?
How will I state the finances of the Crow tribe? As just previously mentioned, we've got to get a handle on our bills. The non-payment of our trash bill, for example. I mean, $875,000 of non-payment, and we've got to pay our bill. We've got to get a handle on our finances. We've got to pay the $100,000 that is owed to Bullis Mortuary, and fund the $5,000 as promised by the budget to the Crow people for burial expenses. I mean, those are just 2 items out of several. I've got tribal members that have approached me and stated that they worked for weeks on end with no pay and they still haven't been paid. Well, we got to pay our folks that put in the time and the energy for the Abzalogat and provided a service. We've got to pay those people. We've got to make sure that we handle our finances and make sure that we know where our stream of income is coming from. I mean, currently the executive branch proposes a budget based on projected income. We can't afford to do that anymore. We've got to know what's coming. We've got to plan conservatively, and if more money comes in, then we can attack the financial picture, which is grim for the Abzalogat, and make it better for the Crow people. Right now, when we base our planning on projected income, and if that income doesn't come in, then checks start bouncing. We don't pay bills anymore. I mean, we got to get a handle on our finances, because whoever gets into office, and hopefully it's me, it's going to be a tough situation to step into. Next question.
Okay, what are your thoughts on the Crow Tribal Constitution? Do you plan to address it to create balance of power between the 3 branches of Crow government?
Indeed. The question, are we going to create the balance of power between the branches? Okay, let's get real here. Let's be real. I was removed from office at the Abzalogat Nation Judicial Branch because I had a couple of the politicians at the legislative branch and the executive branch, they had a vendetta because I would not do personal favors for those tribal leaders. I won't mention any names, but I mean, a judicial branch officer has to be able to make decisions without fear of political reprisal or political payback. Currently, under the judicial branch removal process, a petition is filed, sent to a committee. Committee makes recommendation to the legislative branch, which 12 members have to vote for a judge's removal, and they're gone. There's no balance of power. Under the executive and legislative branches of government, the standards to remove an official is quite high, and ultimately it would be up to the Crow people whether to remove that tribal official or not. The numbers are astronomical. You have to have 2/3 of the voting membership to remove a elected official, and if a certain amount of folks don't vote in that recall election, then it's not going to happen. I mean, think about it. A judge can be removed by 12 members of the legislature versus the legislative and executive branch members can only be removed by the general counsel. There's no balance of power. The current judges that are sitting, I guarantee you, are in fear of reprisal because the balance of powers are not equal. I mean, you think about it, if you put the same removal process by a constitutional change to hold a judge accountable, I guarantee you that judge will make a decision without fear of political reprisal. They'll uphold the rights of tribal members, they'll uphold the rights of the branches of government, and make the right decision without being afraid of being removed from office. I think if you amend the Constitution and you empower a judge to be there and cement their place in history, then you would have a balance of power. That's where I'm coming from. Anyway, next question.
How do you plan to address the economic conditions the Crow people live in?
The economic conditions the Crow people live in, like, check it out. We know that there are several family members that live in one household, several families, that live in a household on the Crow reservation. They're crowded housing. Baluk. Number one, you've got to enforce taro. You've got to bring jobs to the Crow Indian Reservation. Burlington Northern hauls a train through our reservation every day. We don't enforce taro. Tribal Employment Rights Office. We recently have had the head of our law enforcement who was a non-Indian. Why not hire a Crow tribal member? We have several members of our police force right now that are non-Indians. Let's hire Crow tribal members and employ our tribal members first. Number one. At the mine, how many years we've been there? Since 1973. And still we don't have 100% employment for Crow people up at the mine. All the advisory or administrative positions are brought from out of state. We enforce taro. We're going to end that practice. Look at the National Park Service up at Okabad. The 50-year agreement ended in 2017. The MOA between the tribe and the Park Service, they were supposed to employ tribal members. Well, they have, but they're all the lower level positions. Why don't we have a superintendent that's a tribal member? Why don't we have the park rangers that are tribal members? If we enforce taro, we take it to court, we employ our tribal members, then we'll get out of poverty. Then we'll empower our tribal members to make a living and bring pride to their homes, and then they can build on their finances and build their lives for a better tomorrow. We don't even enforce employment on the Crow reservation. If elected, I'm taking these people out of court and making them hire our tribal members first and foremost. Go ahead.
How will you address some of the issues that are concerning to Crow people? Trash, housing, infrastructure, children, and elders.
Number one, the elders. Let's look at it. We only got a couple minutes left. We've got to pay them on time. It's not a favor by the executive branch to pay the elders $300 a month. It's required by law, and it's backed by federal law under the 107th dollars that come to the Crow Nation through the 107th settlement. And those funds are to be used to support our elders, educational programs for youth. The $300 a month for elders is required by law. It's not currently. I'll be honest. You see the long line of cars, payday. I'm glad people are working, but that's not required by law. What's required by law is elders got to come first, and we're not paying them on time. How many months did we go last year without paying our elders? Our youth, look at our youth. 19 minutes. Hilaga, the cigarette tax, for example. During the Carl Van administration, it was paid to the well over $1 million to Little Bighorn College. Today, that tax is non-existent. It goes into the general fund. I will end that practice and give it back to the college. Go ahead, last question.
What are your thoughts on our natural resources? Coal, the buffalo herd, water, etc. Well,
we got to go after and empower the Water Settlement Act. Hilaga, we've got, I believe, 500 million acre feet up that Okabah that we can use and pipe it to California and make millions. I mean, we've got the money to do it. We've got the $450 million that was established by Congress under the Black Eagle administration. Kalaftasala, that money is still available. And we can't sell our buffalo anymore. The 500 head that we sold to MHA for $500,000, where'd that money go? It wasn't approved by the Crow legislature, by the way. But anyway, I think my 20 minutes are up, and apsalo gadilu se johomu.
Do you have any closing comments?
My only closing comment is this. Vote for your relatives if you want the status quo to remain. What is the status quo? The status quo is this. We are satisfied with the situation that we're in, and we don't want to move forward. If you elect me, Upsaloga, I will hold folks accountable to do the work that they're supposed to do without fear of reprisal. I filed suit against the chairman of the Crow tribe to make him pay $86,000 in judicial bills, and I made it stick. And I'm not afraid to make moves like this for the Crow people, and I'll do it again, I hope.